There is a single idea that can eliminate 90% of your anxiety. Not reduce it, not manage it, eliminate it completely. It was discovered 2,000 years ago by a slave who couldn't control whether he lived or died. He had no rights, no freedom, no guarantee he would survive the day. And yet he achieved a level of inner peace that most people never experience in their entire lives. The same idea was later perfected by an emperor who controlled the largest army the world had ever seen. He commanded 60 million people. He could have had anything, and every night, alone in his tent, he reminded himself of the exact same principle that the slave had discovered. The Stoics called it the Dichotomy of Control. It is the most powerful mental framework ever created. Philosophers have studied it, psychologists have validated it, and millions of people have used it to transform their relationship with anxiety, fear, and suffering. And in the next 17 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how to use it. Not as abstract philosophy, as a practical tool you can apply today, tomorrow, and for the rest of your life. Let me ask you something, and I want you to answer honestly. How much of your day do you spend worrying about things you cannot change? Think about it. Really think about it. The economy, other people's opinions, the weather, your boss's mood, what your ex is doing, whether that person texted you back, the news, politics, traffic, what might happen next month, what happened last year. We spend enormous amounts of mental energy, precious, finite mental energy, on things that are completely, utterly, and permanently outside our control. Our brains are wired to scan for threats. And in the modern world, threats are everywhere. Every notification, every headline, every uncertainty about the future. And it's destroying us. Anxiety rates have tripled in the past decade. Depression is at an all-time high. We have more comfort than any generation in human history. More food, more medicine, more entertainment, more connection. And we are more miserable than ever. The Stoics saw this coming 2,000 years ago. They didn't have smartphones or social media, but they understood something fundamental about human psychology that we've forgotten. They understood that our suffering doesn't come from our circumstances. It comes from our relationship to our circumstances. Epictetus, the slave who became one of the most influential philosophers in history, put it simply. He said, "Some things are within our power, and some things are not." That's it. That's the entire foundation of Stoic philosophy. 12 words, and it sounds so obvious that you might be tempted to dismiss it. You might think, "I already know that. Tell me something new." Don't, because the obvious truths are often the ones we most need to hear. We know them intellectually, but we don't live them. We don't apply them. And this simple distinction, will change your life if you let it sink in deeply enough. Here's how it works. Imagine two circles, an inner circle and an outer circle. The inner circle contains everything that is within your control. According to the Stoics, this list is very short, shorter than you might expect. It contains exactly 4 things: your judgments, how you interpret events; your desires, what you pursue; your aversions, what you avoid; and your actions, what you choose to do. That's it. That's everything you control. Your opinions about things, what you want to avoid, and what you choose to do in any given moment. Nothing else, nothing more. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the world, wrote in his private journal, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He ruled an empire. He commanded legions, he controlled the fate of millions, and he understood that the only thing he truly controlled was his own mind. Now look at the outer circle. This contains everything else. And I mean everything. Other people's thoughts, other people's actions, other people's opinions of you, the weather, the economy, the past, every single thing that has already happened, the future, every single thing that hasn't happened yet, your reputation, even your own body to a large extent, whether you get sick, whether you get injured, whether you live or die. This is the realm of things you can influence, perhaps, but never fully control. You can eat healthy, but you can't guarantee you won't get cancer. You can be kind, but you can't guarantee people will like you. You can work hard, but you can't guarantee success. And here's the crucial insight, the insight that changes everything. Every moment you spend trying to control things in the outer circle is a moment wasted. It's not just ineffective, it's actively harmful. It creates anxiety. It creates frustration. It creates suffering. It drains your energy. It steals your peace. It robs you of the present moment. Epictetus said, "Make the best use of what is in your power, and take the rest as it happens." This is not resignation. This is not giving up. This is strategic focus. This is putting your energy where it can actually make a difference. Think of an archer. The archer controls their stance, their grip, their aim, their breathing, the moment of release. But once the arrow leaves the bow, the wind, the movement of the target, random chance, all outside their control. The master archer focuses entirely on the shot. They release attachment to the outcome. And paradoxically, this is what makes them great. Let me tell you how Epictetus discovered this, because his story makes the principle unforgettable. Epictetus was born a slave in the Roman Empire around 50 AD. He was property, he had no rights, no freedom, no control over where he lived, what he ate, or whether he would be beaten or killed on any given day. His very name, Epictetus, means acquired. He wasn't even given a real name. He was just a thing that was purchased. His master was Epaphroditus, a wealthy, powerful man who served as a secretary in the court of Emperor Nero, a man known for his cruelty, a man who saw slaves as tools to be used and discarded. But somehow, Epictetus was allowed to study philosophy. Perhaps Epaphroditus saw value in having an educated slave. Perhaps it was simply luck. Whatever the reason, Epictetus began attending lectures by the Stoic philosopher Musonius Rufus, and something awakened in him. One day, according to legend, Epaphroditus was twisting Epictetus's leg, perhaps as punishment, perhaps for sport, perhaps simply because he could. Epictetus looked at him calmly and said, "If you continue, you will break it." Epaphroditus continued. The leg broke, the sound of bones snapping, and Epictetus, without crying out, without begging, without showing any distress, simply said, "I told you it would break." Think about that. A slave, in agony, with a shattered leg, maintaining complete composure, complete presence, complete peace. How is that possible? How can anyone achieve that level of inner freedom? Because he understood something his master never would. Epaphroditus controlled Epictetus's body. He could break his bones. He could end his life. But he could not, could never, control Epictetus's mind, his judgments, his character, his inner freedom. The leg was in the outer circle. His response was in the inner circle. And Epictetus chose his response. Years later, after gaining his freedom, Epictetus would teach this principle to senators, generals, and future emperors. His limp was a constant reminder of the lesson, a badge of honor. proof that the principle worked even in the most extreme circumstances. It is not things that disturb us, but our judgments about things. This is the heart of Stoicism, the foundation of everything else. And if you're finding value in this, consider subscribing. We explore ancient wisdom every week, wisdom that has stood the test of 2,000 years. Now let's see how an emperor applied the same principle. Because if it works for a slave and an emperor, it can work for anyone. Marcus Aurelius ruled Rome at its height, 60 million people, the most powerful military force in history, unimaginable wealth and influence. He could have had anything, done anything, been anything. But his reign was defined by crisis. The Antonine Plague, one of the deadliest pandemics in history, killed 5 million of his subjects. Barbarian tribes invaded from every direction. The Parthian Empire threatened from the east. Germanic tribes poured across the Danube. His own generals betrayed him. His wife may have been unfaithful. 8 of his children died before him. 8 children. Imagine burying 8 of your own children. Every night after commanding armies and managing an empire, after dealing with plague and war and betrayal and grief, Marcus would sit alone and write in his journal, not for publication, just for himself. Reminders, principles, the same lessons over and over. Today I shall meet with meddling, ungrateful, violent, treacherous, envious, and unsociable people. This was his morning meditation. Not positive thinking, not denial, not pretending everything was fine. Acceptance, preparation. He knew he would encounter difficult people. He couldn't control them, but he could control his response to them. The plague, outside his control. His response, organizing relief efforts, selling palace furniture to fund aid, staying in Rome when others fled, within his control. The invasions, outside his control. His decision to lead from the front, to fight for 17 years without complaint, to do his duty regardless of the cost. Within his control. The deaths of his children. Outside his control. His choice to continue serving, to find meaning in his work, to not let grief destroy him. Within his control. He wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This is the dichotomy in action, at the highest level. You cannot control the obstacle, but you can control how you use it. And often, more often than you might think, the obstacle itself becomes the opportunity for growth, for strength, for wisdom. So how do you actually use this? Let me give you a practical framework you can apply today. Step 1. When you feel anxiety, frustration, or anger, pause, stop, take a breath, and identify the situation causing the emotion. Name it specifically. Maybe it's a job interview coming up, a conflict with your partner, a health scare, a financial setback, a difficult conversation you need to have. Whatever it is, name it clearly. Step 2. Separate the circles. Ask yourself explicitly, what aspects of this situation are within my control? What aspects are outside my control? Be ruthlessly honest. Take the job interview. Outside your control. Whether they like you, whether they hire you, who else applied, the interviewer's mood, the company's budget, whether they already have an internal candidate, the economy, within your control, your preparation, your attitude, your answers, how you present yourself, whether you research the company, whether you get enough sleep, whether you follow up afterward. Step 3. Focus 100% of your energy on what you control. Release everything else. Not ignore it. Not pretend it doesn't matter. Release your attachment to controlling it. This doesn't mean you don't care about the outcome, Of course you want the job. Of course you want the relationship to work. Of course you want to be healthy. It means you recognize that worrying about the outcome doesn't change it. Only your actions in the present moment can influence it. Seneca put it beautifully. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Modern research confirms what the Stoics knew. Studies show that 85% of what we worry about never happens. It never materializes. We spend energy on phantoms. And of the 15% that does happen, 79% of people say they handled it better than expected. They were stronger than they thought. Do the math. 97% of your worrying is completely pointless. The Stoics knew this 2,000 years before the research confirmed it. They figured it out through observation and practice. Now, let me address the mistakes people make with this framework. Because misunderstanding, it can be just as harmful as not knowing it. Mistake 1. Confusing acceptance with passivity. The dichotomy of control is not about giving up. It's not about lying down and letting life happen to you. It's about directing your energy effectively. Epictetus didn't accept slavery. He worked toward freedom and eventually achieved it. Marcus didn't accept invasion. He fought for 17 years to protect his people. But they didn't waste energy on what they couldn't change. They focused on what they could do. Mistake 2. Thinking you shouldn't feel emotions. The Stoics never said that. That's a complete misunderstanding. They said you shouldn't be controlled by emotions. Feel the anger. Feel the fear. Feel the grief. Then choose your response consciously, rather than reacting automatically. Mistake 3. Treating influence as control. You can influence many things: your health, your relationships, your career, your reputation. But influence is not control. Do what you can. Give your best effort, then release attachment to the outcome. The wise person knows the difference. They act where they can act. They influence where they can influence. And they accept what they cannot change. This is not weakness. This is wisdom. Here's what happens when you truly internalize this principle. When it moves from intellectual understanding to lived experience. The traffic doesn't disappear. The difficult people don't vanish. The uncertainty doesn't end. The challenges of life remain. But your relationship to all of it transforms completely. You develop what the Stoics called apatheia. Not apathy, but freedom from destructive passions. A calm center that external events cannot disturb. Not because you don't care, because you've learned where to place your care. Epictetus, the slave who became freer than emperors, left us with this: freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. And Marcus, the emperor who chose wisdom over power, wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." The dichotomy of control, the most powerful mental framework ever created. 2 circles. 1 question. Is this within my control? Ask it constantly. Ask it about everything. Every worry, every fear, every frustration. And watch your anxiety dissolve. Watch your peace expand. Watch your life transform. This is eudaimonia, the art of living well. If this framework resonated with you, watch our video on Epictetus, the slave who discovered it, or explore Marcus Aurelius, the emperor who perfected it, or Seneca, who proved that even the richest man in Rome needed it. Subscribe if you want more ancient wisdom for modern life. And remember, you cannot control whether you subscribe, but you can control whether you click the button. The choice is yours. It always was.